and welcome to Fridays with Father, the show where we find priests, we interview them, and we have a great time doing it. Of course, I'm your host, Andy Shmura, and on the other side of the camera, we have a very special guest with us. His name is Father Daniel Schuster. Father, thank you for joining us this morning. And for all those who may not realize, Father Schuster, of course, is the pastor at St. Mary's Parish in Luxembourg, former vocations director in the Diocese of Green Bay, also a very good friend of Spiritus. So, Father, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing pretty good.
That's awesome.
It's Good Friday.
Yeah, it is.
COVID-19, I'm covered up, ready to go. And it looks silly, but it's no laughing matter. We've got it right around the corner here in our own town, and we're being very, very careful.
Sounds good. And as you mentioned, it is Good Friday. Obviously, it doesn't really feel like it, though, does it?
Well, I think it feels more like it than ever.
Really?
If we're in this mode of suffering, we call a time of where there's a virus or a plague, we call it a time of pestilence, and it really has driven us deeper into prayer and deeper into this sense that there's a cross, a suffering, and a redemption that's needed. So I'm curious as to why you don't think it feels much like Good Friday, when for us here it feels like twice the Good Friday.
I don't know. I guess I was just thinking, being quarantined, not going to, the masses, or in today's case, the liturgy that we would normally celebrate. When you say for you guys, it does feel like Good Friday, what does that refer to specifically? You mean priests?
Yeah, and I think some of the parish folks that are here just trying to connect the power of this time to everyone else. It just seems intensified. But growing up, my mom always quarantined us on Good Friday. So, I mean, I'm used to this. On Good Friday, she would shut the whole house down from noon to 3 and make us stay in our rooms and pray. At least that's what she called it. I don't know if it was really prayer. We could tell that she was smoking cigarettes, but we did. We were shut down from 12 to 3 every Good Friday in our house. And then at 3 o'clock, we would emerge singing songs from Jesus Christ Superstar. And that was my upbringing with Good Friday. But it was always a day where we didn't have school and we didn't talk a lot, and we were very quiet. And we never fought on Good Friday. We never messed with mom and dad. It was a serious day, and it feels that way right now.
Sounds good. So obviously we're in the middle of the Tritium right now. Could you explain real quick for all those who may not be familiar what the Tritium is exactly?
Sure. The Tritium is a continuous liturgy. Liturgy is the work of Christ undertaken on behalf of the people that the people participate in. And this is his greatest work, walking from the upper room to the Garden of Gethsemane, to going to his death, to going down into the depths of hell, preaching to the souls in hell, and then rising from the dead. This is his greatest work. This is the Paschal mystery. And because of that, the liturgy is also intensified in this 3-day long chunk from Holy Thursday through the Easter Vigil night. And those are those 3 days. And then Easter Sunday is something new. It's the day of the Lord's resurrection. So what we have is, like today, we wouldn't call it Mass. We call it a service of the cross. We had the Mass of the Lord's Supper last night, and the service of the cross today, and then the veneration tomorrow, the Easter Vigil, starting in darkness and ending in light. So I would just say it's like taking a normal Sunday Mass, because all those movements are in the liturgy of each weekend, but it's like extending it. It's like a vigil. It's like a intensified waiting and celebration.
Okay, so you said that it's a liturgy that we're extending for 3 days, essentially, but we can't do that publicly. So I'm wondering, what is that like for you as a priest, not being able to do it publicly? How are you doing it instead?
Well, actually, it's interesting because it is and it isn't public. The priests for Holy Thursday, celebrating the anniversary of the priesthood, the institution of the Eucharist, needed special permission to celebrate that Mass privately. Okay, so we were able to gather with There were 9 of us there, but everyone, our bishop has said everyone has to have a part in it, that you're not just gathering random groups of people and trying to get them in the church, because that would violate the spirit of what we're trying to do. We had to use the social distancing. So by that special permission, we were allowed to have a private mass, so to speak, for Holy Thursday. Since today's not a mass, there's no such thing as that. And so you cannot have a Good Friday or an Easter Vigil without a congregation. The Vatican has allowed us to count live streaming as our congregation. So if our diocese is interpreted this way, if you're not live streaming Good Friday and Holy Saturday, you can't have one. You have to, as a priest, go and con-celebrate with somebody who is, if you're going to celebrate it. Otherwise, you celebrate the liturgy hours in its place. Well, obviously, we'd like to be celebrating these mysteries. So the challenge was up, live stream, because then it is a public liturgy. It's on the edge, and that's interesting because they're somewhat ruling that counts enough to make it as a public liturgy, but it's not clear. And it's obviously a consolation. It's not a prize. It's not the real fullness of the liturgy. So in the words of one of these other bishops or cardinals who's doing a lot on the internet right now, it's never really private. There's always the saints and the angels are there, and it's always Mary, Joseph, and Jesus are there. Jesus doing the work and the activity. But we do have some people who are representing the parish and the people at the services. One of the servers who comes every single day, a college student, a healthy young man. I call him the Lamb of Luxembourg. He carries with him all the prayers and all the offerings of our whole community, because he's representing as well. So I don't know if that's theologically accurate, but we get a kick out of it. So that's kind of what it's like right now.
Okay. I'm going to ask you one more question, one more quick one. What are some ways that we, especially referring to the youth, how can they really encounter God in this Holy Week? Because obviously it's different than how it would normally look. Different isn't necessarily worse. Look, it's just as holy as it always would be, no matter what. So what ideas might you have for youth to encounter God throughout this Tritium leading into Easter Sunday?
Well, I would say you've got to try to participate in these activities that your parish or the diocese is putting online for you. And but the number one thing outside of taking the time to participate in these remote liturgies is silence. But like my family made us shut down the house on Good Friday. So, can you go screen free on Good Friday, cell phone free or whatever they're called, smart device free these days. So, that would be the number one way to encounter Christ, is to give him room, give him time, give him space, and pay attention. So there's the obvious things, prayer, okay? But then there's your interior sacrifice. What are you going to give? How badly do you really want to encounter this? How badly do you really want to have Jesus enter your life? There's Hedwig in the background. She's jumping around. That's my cat. Just so you know.
I wasn't going to bring up the cat, but I'm glad we got to see her.
Well, she skipped across the screen. I know that our youth, most of them are under the age of 18 or 14 or whatever for the meat and the fasting, but you can do that. You can still do that. And you can still get hungry for the Lord. That's another way. Today is a day of fast. 1 normal meal, 2 small little meals, no meat, nothing in between the meals. So I don't know how soon this is going to be posted, if they're going to be able to hear that before they mow down on all kinds of junk food or something. But give it up and pay attention. The power of the Paschal mystery is available to you, but you have to welcome it in. Okay.
All right. That sounds great. Thank you so much, Father, for joining us. I hope you have a fantastic Good Friday.
Oh, that's nice. So I'll give you a there she is.
There she is. And that's our partner. It's Hedwig.
There she is. God bless you all.
Thank everybody viewing this as well. Be sure to join us next week as well for another great episode of Fridays with Father.